from Gary Vaynerchuk. So, okay. All right. So what did I learn when I was talking to Gary Vaynerchuk at the StreamYard Level Up Summit last week? It was an amazing event, obviously, but Gary talked about building your brand with live video, which naturally I would be totally jazzed up about this because I'm super passionate about the exact same topic. I'm always encouraging everyone to put themselves out there, make these connections, be talking to your audience using live video. It's the most authentic way to show up online, in my opinion. You're live, you're not scripted. I mean, you could be scripted, but you're not edited, so to say, right? And if you make mistakes or you flub your words, it makes you that much more human. And I know that Gary shares the same opinion about this. He uses live video. He's been using live video for years before Facebook pre-Facebook live video. So he is a big advocate of this piece of content, and he's had a lot of success. He's got multiple businesses that he owns. He's an investor. He's a keynote speaker. He's got all these things. So he definitely has reached a lot of his goals, and he's been able to acquire his audience, but also attract a new audience, a younger audience even, with a lot of his live video content. So he was a perfect person to have come on as the keynote speaker at this summit and, about talking about his opinion about building a brand with live video. And I have to say, one of the things I loved about this was that you could tell he did not have notes. He didn't have slides. He talked from his heart, right? He just really talked about what he's passionate about. And I think that that's one of the things that I find so many people feel they have to have all this preparation, all this stuff, all these fancy things to use live video to talk to any audience, really. And he was I could tell he was using a built-in webcam. I could totally tell it was probably just a built-in webcam on his laptop based on the angle and everything it was facing. He wasn't using any fancy audio. He was just showing up right there in his office space and talking. And you could even hear people in the background, going about their day, whether, I don't know if he was in his office or if he was in his home. He was definitely in some sort of city, scape look, but he just showed up and there he was talking to us about something he's passionate about. And I think that that's what I love about live video and live, content is that you don't have to have all this fancy stuff. You just don't. And you can, if it makes you feel empowered or if it makes you, feel like, you're hitting something heavier, you're getting that message out in a better way, you can, but you don't have to. So many people are successful with just the basics, right? And so he talked about 3 major things that he really wanted to speak about when it comes to building a brand using live video. And so I want to cover what those 3 things are. So I want to pull this up though so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This was me up there with Gary. He came on and he spoke for about 15 minutes or so, and then we did a little bit of a Q&A for another 15 minutes, and it was great. It was awesome. But during that first 15 minutes, he talked about 3 things. And the first thing he talked about was self-awareness. And he talks about self-awareness often. It's basically understanding what you're passionate about, understanding what's holding you back, understanding your fears, understanding your limitations, understanding, your goals, self-awareness. He talked a lot about this and how important it is, because when you are going to show up and you are going to be, an influencer, right? And when you are going to be somebody who wants to deliver a message and an influencer, maybe you're influencing people to walk into your brick and mortar business. Maybe you're influencing people to, change their life. Maybe you're influencing people to change their lifestyle, lose weight, work out, healthy habits. Maybe you're, like John Pullum, and you're just trying to inspire people. You're just trying to help people find happiness, right? And joy in their life. Maybe you're like me and you're trying to get, people to embrace live video, right? Self-awareness. What are you passionate about? What is it you want to do? What do you want to share with people? But also, why aren't you doing it? Self-awareness, think about it. Because all of us, as we embark on journeys in entrepreneurship, we run into hiccups. We run into mind blocks, right? Roadblocks is one thing. We run into mind blocks as entrepreneurs, right? We talk ourselves out of things. We talk ourselves out. Oh, I'll use live video this year. Yeah, okay, I'll get consistent with live video, right? And then we don't. Or we start it and we go live 3 or 4 times, and the next thing you know, it's been 6 weeks, 6 months since you've done a live video, right? And so self-awareness, why is that happening? Is it because you're not making time for it? Is it because you're scared? Is it because you're not getting the results you want? And by the way, are those goals really like legit? And so self-awareness is key. So understanding all those things, knowing how you want to do everything. So I loved that he talked about that, and also being humble. He talked about being humble, and he talked about listening to your audience as well. So he kind of like the self-awareness bucket was kind of like, I don't want to say he went down rabbit holes. What he's talking about is just don't be the one, like be self-aware that maybe you're talking too much and you're not listening enough. He talked a lot about how so many creators and content creators don't do enough listening. They don't listen to their audience. So they don't know what their audience truly needs or wants. They don't know where they're stuck. They can't answer those questions, right? And I thought, I love this too. I recently heard this, that when it comes to Gary's Twitter, like his tweets, and I don't know how fresh this stat is, but at least at one point, 80% of his tweets were replies, not tweet like his own, like, message. It was replies to either people tweeting out there on their own or people responding to him and him replying to them. And I thought that was really cool. And I do think that it's easy to get stuck in the world of talking, and not doing enough listening, not doing enough engaging back. And so I loved this reminder that we should be listening. And listening might mean listening to your audience, right? Like we're all here today. You're in the comments with me live. I can see your comments. I can hear you. I can hear what resonates with you. The questions that you ask me week after week during my weekly live Q&As, those are comments. I'm listening to you. So I know what's going on, but there are times when we don't let it soak in. So you can listen to your audience here live in the live chat. It's one of the best ways to get to know your audience because they're commenting with you live. You're having a conversation, two-way conversation while you're live. It's like being together. But you can also be listening on other people's content. So, one of the things that I know I always, whenever I talk to people who are trying to build a business, an online business, or, especially their email list. Building an email list is a very effective strategy if you're going to be an online entrepreneur, whether it be an e-commerce business, any of those things, right? So what's really, really important is that you have to know like what's going on with your audience so that you can create effective tools for them in order to help them. And a lot of people will say, I don't have an audience yet. You keep saying, get to know your audience, do calls with them, learn about them, but I don't have an audience because I'm starting from scratch. If you're starting from scratch, then you're going to have to go pay attention to other people's content, join Facebook groups, be engaged, be a part of the community, give more than you take, be helpful, start showing up online in other places, borrowed platforms, if you will, borrowed spaces. And then you can be paying attention to the conversations there, right? And so then that's how you start the process. And then you build your own audience, and then you really get to know your own audience as well. So the whole listening thing was huge. Loved that. The whole self-awareness piece was huge. That was the first thing he talked about and brought up for sure. So the second thing he talked about, I freaking loved this part. And I've never, ever heard anybody talk about this. And maybe he's talked about it, but I've never caught it. He talked about respect the platform. And where he went with this was respect the platform, respect the software you're using, respect the actual platform where you're going live, where you're creating content, where you're showing up. And again, we're talking about building your brand with live video. That's what he was talking about. But this applies to lots of things. Respect the platform. Understand the capabilities. Understand the way to use the tools. Understand the way your audience is going to consume your content. So he was talking about also understanding the algorithms, but the features that are available to you, right? Utilize these features that are available. Play around with stuff. Don't just stay stuck in the same type of content trap where you're just uploading a post and putting text to it. Use the polls feature in Instagram stories. Use the Q&A feature in Instagram stories. Use the live video capabilities of all these social media platforms. Apply for LinkedIn Live. Try to get approved. If you don't get approved, keep applying. Get approved for LinkedIn Live so you can use this feature over on that platform. Respect the platforms, but also know the limitations of those platforms. I loved that. I mean, they're giving us these tools or giving us these opportunities to connect with our audience. Use them. And I thought that was great. I absolutely loved it. I also loved how he said, your format needs to work with the platform. And he does a lot of repurposing of content. And so he will have all these live videos. He has all this, these sessions, these virtual things, he's a guest on people's content all the time. He repurposes a lot of that content, but he will shape it and do it in a way that makes sense. For example, maybe he talked for 60 minutes. He's not going to upload a 60-minute, video to Instagram, even though that game is continuing to evolve over on Instagram. They are moving in a video direction quickly, but he's going to create like a little snippet version, and he might take 5 of his knowledge bombs that he dropped in that 60-minute video, and he's going to snip it up, cut it up, and then he's going to repurpose it in his Instagram stories, maybe on Twitter, maybe in a quick Facebook post, right? So again, respecting the platform, but also respecting the way that the formats need to be with your content. I thought that was really cool. I loved what he said about that. Understanding the limitations, but use the tools, use the features that are being provided to you. Stop just creating the same content you were creating 4 years ago. The platforms have evolved. There's so many things there. And I know I really soaked this one in. I really definitely just let this, I was like, wow, I need to do a better job of that. I think it's easy to get overwhelmed by all this stuff, but I need to do a better job of that stuff too. And so I know I took that one home, and I definitely wanted to make sure that I shared that with you for sure. So first thing he talked about was self-awareness. Then he started talking about this whole respecting the platform thing, and it was huge. I loved it. The last thing he talked about was patience. He talked about patience, and he talks about, patience a lot. I'm sharing with you what Gary Vaynerchuk shared at the StreamYard Level Up Summit last week. Patience. He talks about patience a lot in his content, but he talked about this last week as well. And it's like, I think even today on his Instagram post, he's talking about this, that we get in a hurry. We want things to happen fast. We decide, I'm going to start a business. I want success. I want it fast. I want to be able to quit my 9 to 5 right away so I can build this business. We want everything so fast. And I know, my friend Bobby here is watching as well. And I know I've had lots of pep talks with Bobby where he's helped me and coached me in his coaching program to be okay with the process and to embrace the journey. And we have to live in that messy middle. And honestly, the messy middle might last forever. It might last forever. Billy says patience is the hardest thing. It really is. It really is sometimes, because we put all this effort in. We start going live and we want all these responses. We want people to show up live. We want all these people to comment with us. But honestly, I'm here to tell you, if you're not already creating content, if you're not already putting yourself out there, you can absolutely start doing that with live video, but you are going to have to be patient. When I started going live, there were so many times I'd show up and I'd be live and no one would be there. Like I would be like, let's do a Q&A today. And I'd have like one person and they wouldn't even comment. It would show me like one person's watching and they wouldn't even comment, right? But I kept going. And now here we are. And now I've got this awesome community. We've got Cynthia here with Purgatory Paranormal of New York. We have Mike with Never Let the Machines Win. Caleb is here. We've got all kinds of people here that I am getting to know, right? Sonia's been showing up a lot. And it's because of that consistency, riding the wave, hang on to the journey, right? And when we try to make it go fast, we're skipping so many steps along the way. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is embracing that, I've been at this since 2014. This whole, I quit my job. I left my 9 to 5 in 2014. And it's been a long ass journey. There were times when it felt like I was on top of the world. I was building an agency. It was going great. It was awesome. And then I pivoted and I shifted and I changed directions. And I remember having a conversation with a lot of my friends, my peers. I was in this little kind of, mastermind group with other online entrepreneurs. And I remember telling them one day, I was actually on my way home from one of my appointments. It's about an hour away, when I was going through all my reconstructive process after my mastectomy. And I was in the car and I was just like, I'm just tired. I can see where I want to be. I can see where I want to go. I can see where I'm supposed to go. And I want to be there now. I can see that it's so far away. I know I feel like I'm at the bottom of a mountain and I'm trying to climb this damn mountain, but I want to be at the at least halfway up this mountain, because I feel like if I can just get up to that point, it's going to start getting fun. And I'm going to be doing all the things I want to do. I'm going to be speaking on stages. I'm going to be EMCing events. I'm going to be able to have people want to be around me because of my energy. People are going to be enrolling in my programs because of my energy and because I'm able to help them. I want to be there now. I remember telling them that. And I remember just being like, but I know it's not how it works. And today I'm angry about that. Today I feel shitty about that. That's where I was. And that, my friends, was 2.5 years ago. Last week, I was the EMC of a virtual event with 18,000 registrants, and I talked to Gary V. If I had given up because of the need it to be fast, it wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have come to fruition. Now, it's just one step in the direction I want to go, right? But the patience thing, it's easy to hear the patience thing and be like, ugh, everyone says that. Yeah, every freaking successful person says that. And there's a reason for it. Just like everybody talks about being consistent with your content. I know Bobby, it is huge with that, right? Consistency. And it's because it works. You can go rogue, and you all know that I go rogue sometimes, and I do things differently sometimes because I do what I can do. But the patience thing, we can't speed that process up. And here's something that I've really been thinking about. And I've really, really been thinking about this, and it has really helped me. So I want to share this with you. The patience thing. If I had sped that journey up to the stage, if you will, right? And I'm still on a journey. I'm still doing all kinds of things. But literally, if we speed the journey up, if we go fast, we miss so many lessons during that process. We miss so many things that we just need to experience. It's kind of like life. If our kids grew up, if they grow up too fast, think about all the things you learned growing up. Think about when you reflect back on your life, you reflect back the good times and the bad times. All of that comes with you. It all comes with you, and it builds you into the better human that you are. We're always improving, right? Because we have more time in our life. Every minute that goes by is another minute of experience. Every minute that goes by is another minute of learning. Every minute that goes by is you adding more to your ability to grow yourself, but also help others, whether it be kids or other people, right? And so this whole patience thing, I used to really just get angry about it. I just was like, ugh. And I remember talking to Bobby, who, I'm picking on him today because he's here, but I remember talking to him and literally saying, dang it, I don't want to do that part. I remember one time having a coaching call with him, and he was like, well, I feel like what you're saying is you just don't want to do the work. And I think it was funny because Bobby's good at giving tough love. And I was like, no, I don't. It wasn't like this self-revelation of, oh man, I just don't want to do the work. Oh man, that's hard to hear. I knew I didn't want to do the work. I knew I didn't want to write all the sales emails or build the slide deck for the webinar, all these things. I didn't want to do the ICA calls to learn, what people's pain points were. I didn't. I wasn't just talking to my friends that day in the car. I was like, I don't feel like doing this right now. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this messy middle part. But now I'm where I am now is I did the grueling process of pushing forward and to keep going. And I didn't do everything perfect. And I got to a point where I said, you know what, I'm going to embrace this imperfection piece. And when I say I'm embracing imperfection, I'm not talking about the whole done is better than perfect, whatever, don't overthink it, all that crap. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about literally being this is going to be scrappy. This is going to be scrappy. And I know I won't get the ultimate results because I'm not putting in the ultimate amount of all the things. But for now, in this place where I need to be, I'm doing it the way I need to do it. But what I did focus on was keep making steps forward, right? Maybe the steps need to be, hey, do these 12 things so that step can be a big step forward. Instead, I was like, I'm going to do these 4 things. And I know that it's going to be a shorter step forward, but I'm still stepping forward. And that's just kind of what I had to do to get through what I was going through. You might have other things going on. There might be other things holding you back. You got to figure out what's your version of that step-by-step process. But where I am now, I was actually just talking to my friend Amy Porterfield about a week and a half ago, and we were having this quick conversation about resilience and persistence. And she was saying to me, she's like, you're one of my favorite types of course creators, online entrepreneurs, because even though you've not done everything by the book, or even though, you've had ups and downs, she's like, you've had life throw things at you. You've got breast cancer. You had all these things. She said, and I'm not even talking about that kind of persistence and resilience. She's like, I'm talking about like, you kept going, like you had all these failed starts. Cause I've been talking with Amy. I've known Bobby for years now. And I have had so many courses I was going to create, so many ideas, and I didn't follow through. But I finally did. And I finally started getting to the point where I was like, okay, I got to figure out what my process looks like so I can follow through. And that is what happened. That's the transformation I went through last year. And honestly, it was live video. Now, you got to figure out what it is for you that helps you keep moving forward in your world. For me, communication, being with people, talking with people, technology, software, putting myself out there, embracing my personal brand, being able to show up for others. Live video was the best way for me to do that. And it was fun. And that is where I was. But you know what? I ran into lots of hiccups last year. But because I've been continuing to stick with it, I've been able to know like, oh, you'll be okay. It's just a weird day. You'll get through it, and you'll come back around. It'll happen. And again, every minute that goes by is more experience. We know what's going to happen. We know, oh, this feeling will pass. Or, oh, you know what? I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, unmotivated, uninspired. But I know that when I go for a 30-minute walk and I listen to a podcast, or when I go, over and I go, take care of my garden, or whenever I go, schedule a lunch with my best friend, I know those things help me get out of that mindset. We learn what gets us out. Again, it goes back to self-awareness. Gary talked about self-awareness. What is it you need to do to keep going? What does your process look like? What is your unique path? And then he talked about, of course, respecting the platforms, but he talked about patience. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I've been so patient. I'm not a patient person. I'm just not. I make a decision about something. I want to do it, and I want to do it now, and I want to see those results now. I've always been that way, and I will never stop being that way. But what I took from what Gary said and what a lot of his other messages say is that there is that beauty in the patience. There's got to be patient. If you rush everything, you skip necessary steps. You skip necessary, experiences. You skip necessary failures if we speed it up. So he's like, right, like that's what his Instagram post says today. He's like, slow the F down, right? And I got to tell you, maybe some of us, maybe we need to slow a few things down, right? So that we can build the correct business. Because I will tell you, there was definitely a phase about 4 or 5 years ago where I woke up and I was like, I'm building the wrong business. I was going too fast. And I was like, this isn't what I want to do. But here I am. How did this happen? I went too fast. So this whole process of slowing down, I see it. I feel it. I hear it. And I get it because of all that, right? Whew. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. These were the insights I learned talking with Gary Vaynerchuk at the StreamYard Level Up Summit. And we did a Q&A session, but he dropped those knowledge bombs about being self-aware, respect the platforms, and be patient when it comes to building your brand with live video.